16th to order. And could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Davidson.
Present.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Lamone.
Here.
Vice Chair Edsel.
Here.
Chair Vandermeulen.
Here. Okay, and I'm going to kind of break protocol tonight and take the honor of leading the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand, please. Please stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And next we go on to consent items. And one thing I want to mention is I would like to have a correction made on item A on the minutes. Item C and D on our last agenda are the last minutes. We need to add Rob Davidson's name on both of those as approving the motion. Did anybody else catch anything on the minutes or on the calendar?
Nope. With that change, I'd make a motion to approve the consent items.
I second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, those are approved. Thank you. Did we receive any public comments at all? No. Okay, so we will not open public hearings. So now we will move on to our discussion items with staff introductions.
So we'd like to kind of continue a tradition that we started last year of allowing or giving an opportunity for our staff to come up and kind of say their name and kind of the title and what they do for the city. We have a couple of new faces here that we're happy to introduce to the Planning Commission, but I'll just kind of kick it off. You guys know me. I'm David Moe, the Assistant City Director, Assistant Community Development Director with the city here. Been here over 8 years now, and happy to be here. So we can maybe just go in line. Paul, you want to start us off? You go to the podium, please.
Good evening. Paul McLaren, Senior Planner, been with the city for 3 years.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Sipak, Associate Planner, going on 3 years.
Good evening. I'm Jackie Lee. I'm the Planning Manager, and I've been here 16 years.
Wow.
Janessa Gutierrez, Management Assistant, and I've been here for 6 years.
Miriam Lara, Administrative Specialist Assistant, and I've been here for 1 week.
Sean Kunikau, Administrative Specialist 2, and I've been here for about 9 months.
I'm David Sanchez, Community Development Director, and I've been here about 9 hours.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all for those introductions and reminders of the faces to go with the names.
Good evening,
Okay.
Chair, Commissioners. I'm Justin Tamayo. I'm the City Attorney. I've been overseeing the Planning Commission meetings and counseling the Planning Commission for about a year now.
And we appreciate your help and assistance. Okay, so that's all for staff. So then we can go on to our Brown Act training.
Sorry, the staff presentation will be made by our City Attorney's Office.
All right, well, good evening again. Happy New Year. So if you can, next slide, please. Okay, so the Brown Act is commonly referred to as open meeting law, and I'm going to try to keep this short. It's just a couple of slides here, just as a brief refresher. The legislative intent with the Brown Act is that the commissions and the councils, they exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business, and the people have a right to access that information. And so simply, it's government transparency. And what the Brown Act says is that it says that meetings of a legislative body must be done openly and publicly, and all persons have to be allowed to attend. So there's two elements there. There's the legislative body, and there is the meeting. The Camarillo Planning Commission is a well-established legislative body, so there's no issues there. The meeting has a couple different elements, and you can see that broken down on the slide elementally. And so that is a meeting of a majority of the members of the legislative body, so the 3 or more planning commissioners, in the same date and time to discuss, hear, or take any action on any planning commission item. So this is essentially, it's 3 or more planning commissioners meeting and discussing any land use, zoning, or planning matter, or subdivision matter related to the city of Camarillo. That can only happen through a noticed meeting and a meeting that's open to the public. Next slide, please. So this is just a couple examples of improper meetings, the most common of which is serial meetings, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a series of communications between the commissioners. So you can think of emails, text messages, social media posts, communications with an intermediary who relays the contents of the communications to the other commissioners. These are all serial meetings. These are all prohibited by the Brown Act. The other common thing that comes up is items that are not listed on the agenda. Planning Commission can only hear and discuss items that are listed on the agenda and properly noticed. So if anything that's not listed on the agenda comes up, you can briefly respond to it, you can ask clarifying questions, you can direct staff to investigate something, but that's pretty much the extent of it. And so the next logical question is, what happens if there's a Brown Act violation? The statute provides for 2 remedies, civil and criminal. So the civil remedies, it's pretty much going to be an order that prohibits the city from, or rather that requires the city to behave in a certain manner to prevent a future violation, or typically, and it's an order that voids any action taken in violation of the Brown Act. So think of a meeting that violated the Brown Act, approving some entitlement, that would be void, and it would have to be heard again, essentially. And then the statute also provides that for misdemeanor prosecution. So, very simply, that's kind of the Brown Act. There are a few additional points I do want to point out that are just not on the slides, and this really relates to communications. It's kind of related to the Brown Act. It relates to with communications to third parties. So when the Planning Commission hears like land use entitlements or other development permits, it acts as a fact finder, kind of like a judge. And as you know, judges have to be neutral and unbiased, and so that extends to the commission. So in having communications with third parties before an item comes to the commission, you just want to make sure that you're not pre-committing yourself to any particular position one way or another. And then the flip side to that is after the Planning Commission has heard an item, if you're going to have communications with third parties, you just want to make sure that it's clear that the commissioners are speaking in their individual capacity and not on behalf of the Planning Commission or the city. And kind of on that note, I would encourage commissioners to coordinate discussions with community development staff. From my experience, they've been very helpful and eager to help generally. And then the last little comment, or last thing I just want to remind the commission of is the city attorney's office. If you have any questions, you can certainly pose them to the city attorney's office. We're here to help you, and you can contact me directly. You can contact us through staff if you're more comfortable doing it that way. But our door's always open, and we're happy to help. So unless there's any questions, that concludes my remarks. I'll turn things back over to staff, again, unless there's any questions. Yes?
Yeah, I do have a question, just kind of for clarification, because of the new court case that came out related to HOAs and boards conversing through emails. But it did state on there that for governments in the Brown Act, it is specifically noted that we can't communicate also through, especially for chain mails or that type of stuff, through email. So that,
Yeah.
I know you mentioned emails, so I just wanted to kind of clarify that.
Yeah, so the serial communications, it's emails, it's anything that's intended to kind of communicate information between the commissioners, right? So that's text messages, emails, and communications with third parties, right? So if one of the commissioners were to have a conversation with a third party who then relays that to the other commissioners, that's still considered a serial communication and could violate the Brown Act.
Okay. Thank you.
So an email from a commissioner saying to the group and to staff saying, I'm having trouble accessing the information, so I can't prepare for the meeting. Can you help me? And I think others may be having that problem. We're not discussing it, your things were ors. That's not discussing anything of substance, suggesting anything. It's simply logistics. There's a record, and the replies are all in line with that type of communication. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because we're not, as a body, we're not moving anything forward. We're simply trying to do our jobs.
Yeah, so every instance has to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. What I would suggest is if and when those issues arise, always communicate with community development staff and kind of have them be the hub. And that way you're not running into these issues. Yeah, and if there's a specific question or a specific instance that you do have a question about, again, you can contact me directly, or you can contact us through community development staff.
Okay.
You have questions?
Yeah, I also just I appreciate the presentation, wanted to clarify that it's not all communications, it's those that are to discuss or deliberate matters within the jurisdiction.
Yeah,
And I know that could lead to, depending on responses and the chain, it could move into that area, but as long as it's not deliberating or discussing, then we're not meeting in violation of the Brown Act.
Right. So it has to do with a meeting that concerns the subject matter of the commission. So the commission is advisory to the city council with land use, planning, zoning, and subdivision matters. So as long as it's not a communication concerning that, then it is generally okay. And there's also certain exceptions for things like social gatherings and ceremonial things. So again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but always bounce ideas off of us if you have any questions. But to answer your question, yes, I would agree with your statement.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're done? All right, no more questions. Thank you. We go on to item E.
So the next item, I'll kind of kick it off, and then I'm going to invite our Vice Chair, Edsel, to join me in this. So before our Vice Chair presents the plaque, to David, yeah, there we go. So I just want to say, Beverly, thank you, from staff. You've done an excellent job leading the Planning Commission, through this year. We've had a lot of, very, tough projects that we deliberated on and worked out. Thank you for your commitment to the city and, making sure that we do, quality work and, make sure we have all the information and that we make an informed decision at the Planning Commission. And lastly, I just want to say thank you for, respecting staff and appreciating staff. We really appreciate it. We see it, and we really, really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Couldn't do this without staff.
So on behalf of the city, I'd like to present this to you in appreciation for you serving as commissioner chairman of this last year. And I always thought you were an outstanding commissioner since you got appointed and did a particularly great job this last year as our chairman. And we appreciate that. You always came well prepared, had great questions, and what I admired is no matter what side the public was on, you always thanked them for their input and appreciation. Made the city look good, I think. And so congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to sit. I just want to thank you. All of you here on the board have helped, just make everything, keep me on track when I need to be on track. You've always had great questions and additional information that I didn't know, which I really appreciate. You've made it much easier, and staff, in particular, especially starting out. David's helping me go through the agenda, knowing what to do, even though I continually mess something up. But, just getting through the logistics of running the meeting. And it's quite different from being on the HOA board. It's much more formal things to do, and you have to be really consideration of what public is looking at and seeing and understanding. So that was, a lot to make a difference, even little things like when somebody's talking at the podium, and there's a presentation on the screen, I realized early on that they're looking right here. So I have to have eye contact and pay attention to whoever's speaking and what they're saying, as well as trying to catch up. So that was getting used to, some of that. So it's been an interesting year, a very enjoyable year, and I do want to thank all of you for this opportunity, and the help. So.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go on to a change. So who is,
Yes.
we're going to be moving seats around.
Yeah, so I'll take the meeting over for a brief moment here while I will make nominations for the chair. But first, just kind of how the process goes is I'll open up the floor for nominations and can nominate, whoever you would like to have, be your chair. And then we'll need a nomination and a second. And then as long as we have a nomination and a second, if we only have one person, we'll just do the vote. But if we have multiple, then we'll do votes on each nomination. And then after we have a chair, we'll actually switch seats. And then the new chair will go through the same process of, open up the floor for nominations and a first and a second, and then a vote for the vice chair. So with that, I'd like to open up the floor for nominations for Chair of the Planning Commission.
I'd like to nominate David Etzel for chair.
I'll second that.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. Are there any other nominations?
I don't see any.
Okay. So I'll close the nominations, and then we'll have a vote. All right, so the vote is unanimous. Congratulations, Chair
Thank you.
Etzel.
Rob scared me a little bit with that slow second.
We think things through up here. I have all my stuff down there, so be careful. Oh, thank you.
Okay, then I guess we go to the same process, accepting a nomination for vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Gladys Limon as co-chair, or assistant chair, vice chair.
Okay, Gladys has been nominated. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
And moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close the nominations and vote. Please vote. And that passes 5. Congratulations. Yeah.
Sure. It's musical chair. Sorry. Sorry, Beverly. Move again.
Okay.
Musical chairs. And then next, we go into our committee appointments. We used to have an ordinance committee, but my understanding is we don't have that anymore because we decide that as a whole group instead of a separate committee. So
Yes.
just, is that correct?
That's correct. It's just for the nomination of the Architectural Review Committee.
So then we would, see, who was on the architectural review this last time? Was it Tom and Rob? So, and we need 2 members, right? So
Yes, that's correct.
that would be Beverly and Gladys, if you guys want to serve on that committee, unless you guys wanted to serve again, or do you want to take a break from that?
No, if they would like to serve on the architectural committee, that would be just fine.
I would support that if someone new would like the opportunity, that I would support that as well.
Yeah,
If
that's-
not, I'm willing to continue, but I think it's fair to provide opportunity to others first.
Oh, yeah, and I personally would love to be back on the architectural committee.
And one of the things that it's a meeting that starts at 6 before the meeting, so I don't know if you're commuting, would that be an issue for you?
It'd be a little challenging.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking after I thought that, so maybe Beverly and then Tom, you want to be on that committee again? The architectural review?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to.
Because that's more of appointment, do we do a nomination vote on that?
It's the nomination, so you.
It is, okay.
So it sounds like we have,
Beverly and,
And Tom, I think, would be the nomination, so who's second on?
a second?
I'll second that nomination, both nominations.
Okay.
So should we vote on them one at a time, or we vote
I-
both together?
I think we probably.
They're
do it together.
unopposed, so.
Yeah.
So please vote. Great. Thank you. So that's all there is on those items, correct?
Yes.
And
that's
so then
correct.
we moving right into the director's
Yeah.
report.
Yep, so I have just kind of 3 things to talk about. Somehow we've managed to dodge a photo for a year now for the planning commission, but we really would like to take that. So I'd like to propose at the next meeting that we have a photo. After the meeting, we'll stand up in front of the seal and get a picture of the planning commission that we can put up on our website. So I want to make sure you guys have plenty of notice for that.
Unless everybody's okay tonight, everybody looks good. Would you guys rather wait till next week?
For the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. And then also, we are going to be moving to the library for the next regularly scheduled planning commission meeting. So this will be the last meeting here in the council chambers. So we'll be over there, and we'll make sure it's noticed, on the agenda, and we'll kind of send out reminders. So, I'm sure there'll be, creatures of habit might come here first, but then we'll have to jam over there. And then lastly, we have refreshments, after the meeting, so for the planning commission. So
Great.
that's all I have tonight.
Is in the library, it's the room right as you go into the building, it's on the right side, is
Yes.
that?
Yep, that's the
Okay.
one.
That's great.
Okay,
Any,
so pictures will not be up here.
No, they won't, but they will be, by the seal and by the flag, or whatever we at least have.
Whatever's over at the library.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they'll have the seal over there, so we'll still be in
Okay.
front of the seal.
Yeah.
Great. So are there any commissioner comments?
I would like to request that our picture be taken in the room that looks like a pirate ship. It's quite nice, and no comments.
In the
thank
kitty
you.
area.
No comments, thank you.
Any comments? Any comments tonight? Okay.